Welcome to DFS Insights, where the game behind the game comes to life. I am David Geislinger, and alongside me is David Grant Jr., my cousin and co-strategist. The teams up on the block are the Golden State Warriors at the Sacramento Kings.
With your lineup success as our top priority, this is where David and I will deep dive into our top three players that we like for this matchup. We'll break down the strategy behind our picks and share insights to enhance your lineups. And make sure not to miss out on the finale, where we're going to reveal two fully procured lineups absolutely free just for you.
Yeah, nice. So, welcome everybody to the playoffs or play-ins, whatever we want to call them. But yeah, this is going to be the first rounds of the play-ins here. It looks like, the Kings, Golden State got the, later cards, so that's why we're covering them as they're the, 10K to first tournament. And then I believe the Lakers and New Orleans are the other game for going on before that. So yeah, we're going to be diving in here to the Kings versus Golden State. So before we get started, go ahead and drop down your, in the comments below your three key players. We'd like to see who you guys think is going to be, your, all-stars in the lineup. And hopefully, by the end of this podcast, we can maybe change your mind or even give you some more options. So with that, here we go. It looks like, a matchup rivalry, however you want to, call it here. That freaking Golden State coming back into town. We're basically 2-2 for this season against them here. The actual matchup looks not too much in Kings' favor. It looks like they're at about a 2.5 favorite is the Warriors. The over-under sitting at about 223.5, so a little bit lower than I thought would be, especially with two offensive-minded teams. But if you're looking here at the team stats, they're basically similar teams. You have Kings at a offensive rating at 116.2, Golden State 116.9. Defensive rating, Kings 114.4, Golden State 114.5, and the pace is 99.47 for the Kings and a 99.91. So really, basically, if you're looking, just at paper, they're basically the same team. Notable injuries out. You have Gary Payton II out for Golden State Warriors, and then big injuries over on the Kings here. Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter are both out for this game, and those are very huge contributors to the Kings' offensive being here. Just going back, looking at the previous game here. This happened January 25th. Kings squeaked out a victory at Golden State, 134-133. You had Barnes, Sabonis, and Fox leading the way fantasy point-wise for the Kings, while you had Curry, Kuminga, and Green for Golden State. It is actually kind of crazy. 3 of the 4 games have actually been separated by 1 point. Going back to November 28th, Kings won there at home, 124-123. So they pulled off another 1-point victory. November 1st, Kings lost by a point, 101-102. And then going back to the first game of the season in October, the Golden State won 122-114. So I do actually have an optimal lineup here. This is from the November matchup, November 28th matchup. If you look here, first place actually was De'Aaron Fox, followed by Curry, Wiggins, Klay Thompson, and Huerter. Obviously, this is the lineups and rotations have changed so drastically since then. It's going to be, I can guarantee you, different than this, obviously, with Huerter being out and kind of hard to repeat here. But just wanted to give you guys that information that I did have this optimal lineup here. So with that, I don't have too much else to add as far as the overall game breakdown. If you want to add anything here, David, and before we get to our key players.
Yeah, maybe just that it kind of is unfortunate that we played them three times in like the first 10 games of the season. So, you know, it, well, I guess we played them uh, two times in the first couple games, and then we played them in January. So now it's still been quite some time. It's post trade deadline, second half of the season. Both teams do look like different teams pretty significantly than they did at the beginning of the year. So I think we're in just for a great game, and maybe as much as I think it might be a different matchup, I watched the thing with De'Aaron Fox, and he just was like, "Dude, we played them so many times over the past, like 18 months that we know who they are, they know who we are, and we just have to go out there and get it done." So I liked it. I liked what he had to say. That's the attitude I'd carry in, and yeah, I think we should hop into these top plays
All
for
right,
everybody.
yeah, let's head over here to our key player breakdown here. So I'll let you go ahead and get it going.
Start off. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start it off with Mr. De'Aaron Fox.
All right, I like it. I like it so far.
Yeah, we got Sabonis up there at 16K. Then we got Fox at 15K, and then we got Steph at 14K. Um, Basically, I just, Fox. If the Kings are gonna win, Fox has to show up. Fox is gonna get the minutes as long as he's not in foul trouble or hurt. He does exceptionally well against Golden State. Last game he did have 43 fantasy points, but before that he had 54. He did not play in the second game. He had 54 points in the opening game of the season. But going into last year, I still think that last the Warriors have still been pretty much the Warriors. The Kings have pretty much been the Kings. We didn't do anything at the trade deadline. So Fox's numbers from last season, he did have a 27 in there, which is whatever. It's an outlier, but otherwise 54, 49, 56, 52, 57, 53. So it's like I just don't know how to get away from, it's a one and done game. Fox is got to show up. He seems to be the team leader. I know Sabonis is that guy because he's the big dude, but Fox has been around longer. He's been through it, and you know, I don't see us winning without Fox dropping threes. He's really improved his game this year. He has to do everything if we're going to win this game. And at 15K, I think having him at MVP will be lower owned than Sabonis and Steph there. Um, I could see people going even Steph being the highest one there since Golden State's projected to win, uh, albeit by 3 points. Everyone has the Warriors winning from what it feels like and from what I hear. So putting Fox at MVP or star, I will have exposure to him at all three areas. MVP, star, and pro. I will not put him in utility. But that is going to be my staple play from the Kings, Mr. De'Aaron Fox. So, what are your thoughts on him, and who you got here for your first play?
Yeah, no, I like Fox. I did like him. I don't know, Fanduels. I liked when everybody was, Sabonis was 15K, Fox was
Yeah,
14K, and I can fit everybody in my lineups without second guessing and triple checking and all that stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, Fox, looking back, the Portland game,
yep,
they were up by 30 points. I think they won by 40 roughly. So obviously his, minutes are low there. But he's averaging like 37 minutes a game. His usage is 28.9. So yeah, he's going to get his. Unfortunately for last season during the was it the series or whatever they played, I think he either broke or fractured his finger. on his shooting hand. He still ended up coming back and still playing fairly well in those games. Kings ended up losing that series, but here it is, basically the rematch. This isn't 7 games long. This is one and done. So they are, basically Kings are basically the same team. All a little different with the injuries to Monk and Herter, so that's huge. However, Golden State does have a different kind of lineup and structure over there as well too. But yeah, no, I like Fox's play. I'm definitely going to be heavily owned on him as well. So,
Awesome.
but yeah, with that going over to mine, I'm going to go the other side of that ball here and go Mr. Steph Curry. So yeah, like you mentioned, he is basically I think the number one play over on Golden State. I mean, his numbers clearly indicate that. He's 14K salary. He's averaging 33.7 minutes in the last 5 games. 29.1 usage. So basically similar to Fox. Average fantasy points 47.4. He's projected this game roughly about 45. I do like him similar to Fox in all the multiplier spots, MVP, star, and pro, based on where I want to see him. I think he will be heavily owned because the Kings are, they give up quite a bit of points to opposing point guards, about 40.4 fantasy points. Looking back, they just gave up 34 to Banton for Portland game, 30.8 to Booker, 52.3 to McCollum, and 61.4 to SGA. So Curry can easily, what he does, just shoot threes, drive in, throw up, crazy layups and stuff, get the foul called. He's going to be there. He did rest this last game, so he's going to be well rested coming into this game. So maybe, hopefully, too rested as a Kings fan. However, as a fantasy and going for the money here, I'm definitely going to have Curry as MVP, star, and then even the pro. So
yeah, nice. Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you on that. This game is going to be dependent on Steph Curry for Golden State. If they have a chance at winning, there's not really a world I see where he has a bad game, like a 30 fantasy point, 35 fantasy point night, and they win. I don't see that happening. He's going to have to put him on his back, pretty much like he did in Game 7, and just shoot lights out. He's the dude who does have that crazy upside of 70, 75 on any given night. Yes, he is older now. Yes, could Sabonis do that? Thankfully, we do have a guy who could also hit something pretty crazy like that on any given night. But as far as Golden State goes, that's 100% play. I'll have exposure in each of the multipliers. As I try to gauge where I think he'll be the most owned, I will try to play the ownership game and have him less exposed in the most exposed spot. Let's just put it that way.
In 3 of the 4 matchups, the previous matchups against the Kings, he was the leading fantasy point person from Golden State. It was the November 1st game where he was actually 4th highest there. So, but other than that, he was first in the other 3 matchups. So, if past trends are any indication of future results, then he'll probably be, I guarantee you, he'll probably be top 2, 3 easy fantasy points for Golden State. So
unless somehow Mike Brown says, okay, 3 people guard Steph Curry, don't the 3, only let him shoot 2s, and then maybe a different outcome. But all right, so who do you got here for your second pick?
Second pick, I'm gonna go ahead and switch it up here to Mr. Keegan Murray. So yeah, I like him coming in at 12K. It just seems everybody's getting more expensive, making it harder for me to add in all the players that I like. So with that, at 12K, I like him at the star and the pro position. He is averaging 36.4 minutes in the last 5 games. His usage 19.7, averaging 34.3 fantasy points, and he's projected roughly about 33 at 32.9. So yeah, I like him. I love the matchup. He, according to a few websites looking back, he does have one of the best matchups coming into this against Golden State in at least the previous few games. Golden State's has been pretty weak against that power forward, that forward position. So they are giving up about 41.98 fantasy points per minute. If you do look back at his game, if people are game log trolling, for him against Golden State, he hasn't done so well against them. So that gives, hopefully the edge here. But Golden State giving up recently 39.6 to Hendricks, 53.1 to Zion, 40.7 to Jabari Walker, 59.9 to LeBron, and 59.5 to PJ Washington. So they're giving up chunks of
Yeah.
points here. So yeah, that's why I like him. He's probably one of the best matchups I found going into this. So hopefully he can get that shot going early, get that confidence, and yeah, just move it forward.
And yeah, good call. I like his minutes too. They've been great. Boston 41, Brooklyn 38, OKC 38, New Orleans 35, Phoenix 42. So, I could see him being out there for 42 to 46 minutes, assuming no foul trouble and he's hot basically. Obviously, if a couple things aren't falling or we need to switch it up because Golden State's going on a run, I get it, but he does have the opportunity to play those lower 40 minutes, and we know minutes translate into fantasy points. So yeah, I like that play a lot. So that kind of leads me kind of to the other side of the ball. We kind of do bigs against the Kings, and uh, I actually have two bigs. I will start it off with Mr. Draymond Green. Um, you know, like regardless of how this whole attitude thing this season has gone with him, and how it seems like he hasn't cared, and this, that, the other. It's like at the end of the day, this is the type of game Draymond shows up for. It's like he's won so much. I feel like this is like what he is waiting for to show up, to show up and do. So um, I just see him. He seems to do pretty well against us. He is at 12.5. Um, you know, I don't know. I guess he it is kind of up and down. It's 36, 22, 39. Um, but I when I look into last season, I just remember the playoffs last season, and he just had stepped up his game in a couple of those last couple of games. He had 43, 48. Um, and I just feel like when it comes down to having one game, it's like he is that guy, and he does everything: uh, blocks, rebounds, steals, assists. He doesn't score a whole lot, but I mean, he does all the other stuff that doesn't even show up on the stat sheet. And as long as he doesn't get a technical foul or thrown out or a flagrant two, um, he could be in for a pretty big night if the Warriors are going to win. So, that 12.5 spot is expensive to go with someone like him. But again, I do see him having that 45. He, he can hit that 45 fantasy point, which is what's going to be needed at the pro or star spot, which is where I'd be playing him, to be optimal. So What are your thoughts on that play before I hop over to my other play, my final play?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's a
It,
love hate relationship here. So I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, as long as he's not stomping on other players, I think he'll be fine.
yeah,
But yeah, which is weird. Just kind of looking here at some stats. Last 5 games, mind you, out of the last 5 games, he's only played 3 of those. He sat more rest than anything, I believe, but averaging 29.7 minutes, but his usage is only 9.7, which I find is very weird because I think Draymond Green is like more the facilitator of that whole offense. Like he gets people where they need to go, the ball when they need to have the ball. So to have him, not a usage, that includes, assists, basically touching the ball as
yeah,
part of the play. So to see him that low is a little odd to me. Mind you, that just could be he didn't do very well in the last 5 games, but yeah, at the 12-5 mark, that makes it hard. I know he has the potential to have. I mean, going back here to San Antonio, 61 point fantasy time, but he also does have that low of mid-teens.
yeah.
So
Sure.
as a fantasy point, I think it's going to be basically how I'm going to do my lineup construction with him at 12-5 because you do have a few people surrounding him. Keegan Murray at a 42-minute player, an offensive-minded player at 12K, 500 less. You got Kaminga, at 1,000 less. Klay Thompson at 11K. So putting
And
him
so
in, it's basically how I'm going to script it. I know we always say bigs against kings. However, Draymond is a big, but I
yeah,
mean, he's not a typical big. He is a smaller
for
player.
for sure, I agree. So that'll lead me over to my last pick. This will definitely be contrarian, and if you're only making one lineup, I would not put this in as one lineup. If you're making 10 lineups and you want to get a little, put them in at least one. Uh, if you want to get a little frisky, put them in two or three. If anyone remembers last year, Mr. Kevon Looney, and he's sitting at 7,000. Um, I mean, he was a Kings destroyer. It was just, I almost threw up. I mean, I went to two of those games. It was just ridiculous. We could not stop him from getting a rebound. I've heard that the Kings do want to try to go extra big. Like I heard Alex Len should be getting a couple extra minutes. He should be getting like every backup minute to Sabonis. And if we were to have like a Sabonis and Len out there at one time where we're trying to stack it up like a Denver does, then they're gonna have to roll out like Kevin Looney, and again, Kevin Looney at 20 minutes against Portland, 9 points, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks, 2 steals, 38 fantasy points. Now, I know that's not the norm, and he's kind of, as you mentioned, fallen out of the rotation. He's not that rotation guy like he was last season. But to me, he's kind of a good dart throw that either A, he could get good playing time just because of what happened last year, and they're going to have to match up that way. We're going to force them to do that. Or number two, they end up being up 15, 20, 22 with 4 minutes left, and then Kevin Looney gets that extra 5 minutes or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, that definitely could happen if the Kings lose. I know, so he is a fantasy point per minute like solid dude when he's out there. So it'll be, I'm trying to just give you guys out there like a 7K guy. Like we're really digging in the mud when we get down there. Uh, but also, Trace Jackson Davis, I'm just throwing him out there as the extra guy because he's the other power forward center. And as you mentioned, he's the guy who we know is going to get the time, and he's also that per minute beast when it comes to fantasy points per minute. So it'll be about which one of those bigs or two of those bigs are going to exceed their value. And to me, Yeah, it's tough. I got reasons for Draymond. I got my reasons for Looney, and I got my reasons for Davis. So it was hard for me to even pick. That's why I went with two of the three of them. I'll be having exposure to all of them. Um, Looney is only good in utility. This is like a dart throw. He'll be 5% owned or less. This is to like really set yourself apart. If you're going to go super chalk and you want to be able to go, you'll see my lineup that's coming up for free shortly. Um, if you want to try to get some all those top guys up there at the top, you're going to have to make some risky moves down there in the utility spot. So that's the goal there. What are your thoughts on that before we get over to your last play?
Yeah, no, like you said, I think it's. I mean, if it was last season, I would have. He would be MVP against the Kings easily. The reason. I mean, I know Steph dropped 50 on us in Game 7, but he averaged. I think he averaged 20 plus rebounds in that series against the Kings last season. Yeah, he did fall out of the rotation this season. So that's why I'm not too hyped about him. I mean, I know you people are going to look at that 38-point play, but he did get 4 blocks in there, so that's 12 points, and he really hasn't even exceeded. He doesn't even average 1 block a game. That's his only game in the last 2 months where he had multiple blocks in one game. So I definitely consider that an outlier. So looking if he does play, barring just his typical maybe rotation, he'll probably be maybe low teens. So yeah, it'll be tough, especially with I'm looking at other 7K players that have potential, like you mentioned, Alex Lynn earlier, 6,500, Davion Mitchell at 7K.
Do you think? Because like Alex Len has been kind of like a part of the rotation more so than Looney you know, throughout at least the second half of the season. So would you feel like Alex Len would be a better play than Looney from a safety minute standpoint? You know what I'm saying? Because again, and he's 6,500. So I mean, at that point, I mean,
Yeah, if you're, I mean, I would probably Lynn's gonna get minutes. Like that's
yeah,
almost guaranteed. Like he is probably the backup for Sabonis, and
for
like he's gonna get minutes. How many minutes is gonna really depend on I think the flow of the game. How Sabonis is doing. Does he need a little bit of extra time? Does he get in foul trouble? Him and Green battling down there, right? And hopefully not stomping on each other's chest.
yeah,
Uh, but so that's going to depend, really. So, do I like the 6,500 value for Lynn? Yes. However, Lynn also is not too offensive minded there. So, you're hoping for maybe a few blocks in those minutes that, pump them up. You need at least one of these players if you drop down to 7K. You still need them to be, at least a 20-point play.
one, yeah,
Because there's give you an extra boost up top, but you can't have someone in utility at 15 points. That's not going to cut it.
that's
Unless your multipliers just ball out of control. But typically your utilities are averaging mid 20s to low 30s typically.
yeah.
So do I see Lynn or Looney doing that? Probably not. I like Davion Mitchell. He's in the rotation. There has been some games where he gets hot, but there's been some games not. So it's gonna be interesting creating the lineup. I've only done a few right now, so I'm gonna wait on a little bit and do a little bit of extra research. But yeah, dropping down anything like 8Ks like that. Harrison Barnes is like my line was like, okay, I'm getting real creative now when I drop down below that. So even Lyles, knowing he can get going and things like that at 7,500 is still to me like, okay, this is going to be one of those plays. Which I know we're in one of those tournaments. 8,000 players. You got to get unique. These are the unique plays. However, you do also got to consider too is like hey, like I can go, get creative and ownership different elsewhere and still have those top players. So,
Yep,
but
100%. Then, so who you got here for your final pick?
oh well, speaking of Mr. Harrison Barnes, we'll go ahead and
Ah,
throw him up here in that spot, sitting at that 8K. I do like him even up into the pro spot. Pro and utility, he's averaging 28.5 minutes the last 5 games. Usage 16.8. Average fantasy points 27.2, and he's projected roughly about 22 fantasy points this matchup. Looking over some of it, he has basically the second best matchup going into this, right below Keegan Murray. So the last 2 games he played against Golden State, he's averaging about 38 fantasy points against them. So that's any indication. Maybe he just doesn't like his old team. He did, maybe he wants some payback. He did miss a potential game-winning three-pointer, I think in Game 6, I believe, or so. He could have sealed the deal, but he missed that. So I'm really looking for some redemption here. I like his price tag at 8K. He is a very up and down player where it just seems like every game that I play him, he goes down, and every game I don't play him, he has a great game. But no, looking at that, Golden State's given up about 29.94 fantasy points to his position. Recently given up just 19 to Samyak, 38.6 to Murphy 3, 27.8 to Keegan's brother Chris Murray, and 45.2 to Hashimura. So, yeah, I like him. I like him even, getting creative going up to the pro. If you do want to, was the top fantasy scorer in the last matchup in January when they played. So, the potential for him even to be MVP is there, but I'm not going to get too crazy. So I'm gonna probably, he's going to be heavily owned in utility. I can guarantee it. So putting him up in the pro, and even star if you feel like it, for the ownership play there. So
nice. Yeah, I feel like he's our vet, and I think he's gonna get, as long as things are going good, and we need him for defense. The minutes, he's gonna see 41 minutes, barring, uh, s- you know, barring 12 to 15 point run by Golden State, where it's like, okay, timeout, let's get some fresh legs, let's mix it up or something. But I could really see him getting upper 30s to low 40 minutes, and when he does do that, that does translate well into fantasy production for him most of the time. So at 8K, he's probably the best value play, I think I'd say, on the slate, with upside and his minutes and his price.
mhm.
So nice.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's a starter at 8K as
Yeah.
well. So that's great value there as well. So yeah, with that, we went a little longer, but we had a lot more to say. This is getting to it. The playoffs are here. So if you are just joining us, welcome to DFS Insight. Please make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, especially now since, we're about to give you 2 free lineups. Please feel free to enter them in. These are all, viable lineups. We do enter these in. If you did follow last week, one of the lineups we did enter was actually in first place for quite a while. It ended up, placing in the money, didn't place in first, but saw that no one also entered that in. But we do give viable lineups. It's not just throwaway lineups, to draw you in. So these are actually potentially, for winning lineups. So without me rambling on, here's those lineups here. Looking pretty unique. 2 lineups, 2 different strategies here. Yeah, it looks like we got a few of the same players. But yeah, other than that, looking good. So, as we wrap it up, as I did mention, hit that like, subscribe button. It helps out our channel. We get put in front of, more people, and we just, we're just here to share information. So we do, break down just our three key players. However, we do have, information and research. So if you have any questions, also put those in the comments. We plan on basically trying to cover as much of the playoffs as possible. We will not be covering tomorrow's matchup as we're heading to the game tomorrow night, so we will not be able to break down those East Coast play-in games. But then shortly after, we'll cover start going into the round two and the first game. So with that, good luck. Please, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comment section. We love to start getting more engagement with this community. And with that, good luck. Hope to see you on the leaderboard. And David.
On a side note, I just want to thank everybody. The UFC 300 over the weekend was amazing. Man, our video did really well. I know we had somewhere over 700 views on that one, which was awesome because, most of our videos only really get, 12 hours of exposure. So it was nice to get a video out there that had a couple days for you guys to take a look at it. And it does seem like, you guys are out there. So we would like to, it'd be awesome just to interact with you guys a little bit more in the comments. We're here for the playoffs, though. We're definitely focused on the NBA playoffs. So lots of videos coming your way on that. Dave and I will be at the Kings game tomorrow. Let's go Kings, baby. Obviously, let's go Kings, and hopefully we see the Lakers. Hopefully we see the Lakers, and then we know we got a spot. We'll be good to go. And good luck to everybody out there, and we will see you on the next one.